Everyone, welcome back to 2 Hours on a Sunday. I'm Brian,
And I'm Nick.
and today we are going the distance. We are diving into a Disney classic, none other than Hercules,
Yeah.
the Greek god himself,
Or what's the other one?
Disney god.
Roman. Or the Roman god Hercules. But I've vaguely read like all of those stories. They're very similar. They're just like changing the names and whose parents. That's it.
But I didn't read any of them.
They're very different than the story that we have been told by Disney.
Oh, for sure. Obviously, the other stuff is so violent.
Absolutely. And Zeus is definitely not the family
he's
man.
horrible.
Yeah,
he's horrible.
But this movie, I think, makes the story very accessible to a lot of people. It has some really, really nice themes and some messages for kids and adults alike. And it is definitely a Disney classic that I could easily watch over and over again.
Especially for, I think, the boys growing up. The young boys.
Yes.
This is the late 90s were the time for the boys to really dive into Disney.
Yeah, to see that they can become a hero, they can find their purpose, they can, do something awesome and amazing.
Well, as well as seeing themselves in a movie, because Disney's were known for their princesses
yeah.
for the first 40 years,
Absolutely. Now, when we were growing up, how much did you watch this movie?
All the time. This one I watched at Jesse's house growing up, probably almost every time I was there.
Yeah.
This was one of his favorites. And it was this one and Tarzan was the ones I would go back and forth with.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, everyone from the 90s was my go-to, but this is one of those ones.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember watching this movie pretty consistently. I'm sure the tape is a little wrecked by now, but it always stood out as a very energetic Disney movie, from the animation style, the colors, but especially for me, the music. Mm-hmm. And I think I gravitated towards this music even before I became a musician, and looking at it now, I still completely adore it. Every single song in this movie is so catchy. It's so technically well done. Alan Menken did the soundtrack, and
he's a Disney legend.
He is. So he's done
Little Mermaid,
Hunchback of Notre Dame. He also did the Hunchback Broadway soundtrack, and it's just outstanding. Everything that he touches music wise, you get stuck in your head. Mm-hmm. It is so good. What captivated you about this movie?
Overall, I think it was just the fact that as a kid, the idea of being a god and then fighting off the Titans and being a hero, the whole him turning from young Hercules to the Hercules we see by the end of the movie, Phil's theme song for the whole thing.
Yes.
I think just the idea of a hero becoming mortal and then achieving what he set out to do in his own, like starting from the beginning of the movie, he's an outcast because he has these powers, but he doesn't know how to control them, and he doesn't know where he fits in society because everyone treats him like he's different and he doesn't belong. So his whole goal is finding out where he belongs.
Right.
And, I think the characters, Hades in general, is the you know what I'm trying to say? They're all so vastly different and exciting. Unique characters.
Absolutely.
The how they drew them and what they look like was very appealing.
Yes. All of the characters, I think, are some of the most iconic Disney characters, and they all definitely serve their roles really well. We know 100% without a doubt that Hades is a bad guy.
Yeah. From his first introduction, just chilling in the darkness in the corner.
Absolutely. And even with Phil, his demeanor, he's very stout and round and gruff because he's a satyr. He has just this sort of this roughness about him, that he's jaded from all of the failed attempts at creating heroes or molding heroes.
Which makes it seem like it's his fault. Like he's the reason why they weren't a successful hero.
Exactly, because that's the really interesting thing, because everybody who has known those characters in the movie perceives their failures as Phil's fault, not weaknesses of their own, and that puts a lot of pressure on Phil. So again, that is another reason why he's very jaded. He's given up, essentially. And he did see that promise in Hercules. He kind of went out on a limb and said, "This is the kid I'm going to invest in again. My last go at it."
Because he wants people to look up in the stars when a hero is chosen and say, "Well, that was Phil's boy."
Yeah.
It's an amazing full circle moment for him.
I do like that redemption for sure. And I thought about that the other day watching, and I thought, I don't think he's doing it for the glory. I think he's actually doing it because he believes in the people that he tried to help.
Mm-hmm.
Because he wasn't just doing it to create a hero. He was doing it to help people be better.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of them become vain or prideful, and their weaknesses show, and then they fail.
Yeah.
And then it's Phil's fault. So it's a really good redemption story for him. I think there's redemption stories all throughout this movie.
Yeah.
It's Hercules, it's Phil, it's Meg. I don't know, it's a very uplifting movie from start to finish.
And let me tell you, I Can Go the Distance. It's one of the greatest Disney tracks of all time.
It's so good.
Just so Adria walked down the aisle to that instrumental of I Can Go the Distance.
Yes.
And anytime we hear the song, it's emotional. But even before that, as soon as the movie starts and you hear the subtle, because Hercules' theme is not him singing I Can Go the Distance, but it's the da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
Like the subtle, that's the only part you get. And then it's like you get that fade off.
Yep.
That couple notes is all you need.
It's all you need. You know the song. That's his motif.
Yeah.
And it's
that song can relate to anybody.
It can.
Finding deep in yourself, you can go the distance. You can find where you belong. You can figure out your life's path.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the best parts of the movie.
It's actually, aside from it being a good song, it is. You feel it, like no matter who it is, I think they can hear that little motif and say, I can do this.
Yeah.
It is very inspirational.
Now we have to talk about the muses.
Yes.
Because they start this movie off with a bang.
Absolutely.
And they just carry it through. They're some of the most entertaining characters in the film.
Mm-hmm.
They're the five ladies who sing all the hit tracks.
Yep.
Zero to Hero. What was the first one?
The Gospel Truth.
Gospel Truth, yeah.
Yeah.
Crushes.
Yep. This was another reason I really like this movie, is because we had this sort of break from the story itself to take us through the story, right? We're using the music to propel time and the events of the story forward, but we're not doing it within like Hercules' world. We're doing it within the Muses' world. And I thought that was just so cool, because you can do anything with that, which they did. They came out of the vase. They had the big dance numbers. It was all very gospel.
And they were in
inspired,
Meg's song
obviously.
when they were just the statues behind her.
Exactly. So they were utilized outside of that, and then they were used essentially diegetically as the statues. So I don't know. I haven't really seen that sort of creativity utilized in the music for a while. And they those songs just are so good. You can't. I think Zero to Hero and The Gospel Truth are my two favorite songs, even though Go the Distance.
The movie?
Yeah. Even though Go the Distance is like really up there.
Yeah.
I think it just
those
depends.
two songs just get you ready. You're just so excited.
Yep.
and you're ready to just bop along. Where Go the Distance is more of an anthem. It
Yes.
really hits the soul. But
Yep.
these other ones make you realize you're in for a ride with
Absolutely.
this movie.
Yep.
Would you argue that this soundtrack is one of the top 5?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. I was thinking, okay, yeah, like I think you and I both agree that Tarzan's probably the best one. But this one is definitely up there. And it's surprising for me because I'm not the biggest in terms of musicals. Like I've seen a couple of Broadway shows. I've seen a couple. I like movies like this, but they're not always my favorite, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But this one is totally different. This one has something very special about it.
And not one song goes below like a 9 out of 10.
Exactly.
They're all great. There's only 5 songs, I believe.
Yes.
Other than like the classic score music.
Right. Yes. Because there's Gospel Truth, there's Go the Distance, Zero to Hero, Phil's song, and Meg's song.
Yeah.
That's it. That's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
What else do you need? Everybody has.
You know what's wild? Zeus. Hades doesn't have a song.
Right.
Usually Disney always gives their villains a song. But
Yeah.
he's so good at doing what he does. He doesn't need a song.
That's what I think too. That I didn't realize. I didn't think about that. But I wonder. At one point, they must have considered a song for Hades,
Mm-hmm.
and it would have probably been quite funky, quite like very similar, I think, to the Voodoo Man in Princess and the Frog.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe with a more like funk spin to it rather than that like New Orleans jazz. But I really don't think he needed one.
Do you think because his storyline is simple and to the point, where why would you need a song to express what his motives are when you know what his motives are from the first scene of the movie?
Exactly.
Right? He's a song in himself. Like he's
Yes.
so extra with it
Yes.
that he doesn't need to sing about it because the animators crushed Hades. I think Hades is one of the best animated characters they've done.
Absolutely.
Just in terms of how expressive he moves a lot, but all the fire on top of him.
Mm-hmm. That shows his emotion, his fury. I love how he's sort of always hunched over and his hands are up and he's talking with his hands. Mm-hmm. I really watch his hand movements and his arm gestures over his face.
For sure.
Because I don't know if very many other characters talk that much with their hands. What I really noticed was the perspectives that they had to do for his arms. Because a lot of the shots were like facing the camera. So you see his forearms and they're very like big and detailed. And then the detail of the hands as well. It doesn't get lost with anything, no matter what perspective it's in. And it kind of goes with how articulate he is. Because James Woods does an amazing job playing Hades. He's sassy, he's quick, and a little
bit scary when he needs to.
Exactly. And he's so quick to rage that it's actually terrifying. I think that it can be overdone sometimes and you lose that sort of, oh, this character is just a crybaby. Mm-hmm. Or they're using the anger and the rage to falsely scare people. But no, he's legitimately scary.
Or they play into the comedy where after he rages, he's like, "Oof, almost lost my cool for a second there," you know?
He like burns the whole forest down. But yeah, I think he is one of the... Would you say he's one of the best villains?
100% he is.
Yeah.
I'd say it's hard to think about all the villains that Disney has had. I think him and Scar are definitely in the top 3.
For sure.
And it's hard to say... Like, if you don't have the catalog in front of you, like who the other Disney villains are, like you have like Disney Pixar films, like you have Incrediboy,
right?
Like Syndrome. He's one of a top tier villain
because
of what he means to the story.
Yes.
But in terms of
Brian's going through his
I'm looking through the catalog. I mean, Captain Hook is a classic.
Oh, for sure.
But he's a villain, but he's like a quirky.
He's just supposed to be essentially a comic relief villain. for
Right.
sure.
You have
He's
Jafar.
Jafar, absolutely. In terms of actually competent villains, I think Hades is one of them. One of the
Yeah,
top ones.
for sure.
Yeah.
And what about Rapunzel's mom?
Oh, she's good too.
She's good. She's good.
Yeah. She'd be up there. She's in top
Hmm.
5 for me.
But yeah, definitely Hades and Scar, I would think
Yeah.
in the top 3.
Yep. Speaking of Scar,
Great segue.
the cameos, we have to talk about those because that was
I love when they do that.
yeah. Were there any others? Because I didn't really pay attention. That was obviously
I
the
think that
most.
was the only one I noticed. There
Yeah.
was like a subtle Air Jordan hint.
Oh, Air Hercs.
Air
Yeah.
Hercs. They had that in there.
Okay.
But the original, what are those?
That was one thing I wanted to bring up to you. The references that they have in this movie to popular culture, I think they really lucked out on because Air Jordans are still a thing.
Yeah.
They had Hercules.
Toys are still a thing. The Hercules with the peck.
Exactly. And then it was like the Gatorade, but Herculate or something.
Yeah.
Like, how did they really rolled a lucky? They got a lucky roll with those sorts of in-universe gags to our stuff. Because I think if movies nowadays, they'll throw in references to pop culture merchandise, we'll lose it in 10 years.
Yeah.
People still know what Air Jordans are.
I mean, I don't think that would have been an issue because when they were making this movie, because it came out in 97, so they would have started in like 95.
Yep.
He was already a 3-peat champion.
Exactly.
And with a popular shoe brand, and basketball was never going away.
No.
And they already considered him the GOAT
Yeah.
when he won 3 in a row, let alone the next 3. So I think that was a very safe play by them.
It probably was.
Same with Gatorade. I don't think
it's like it's not going away.
None of the subtle details of merchandise was anything they needed to worry about.
No. And I don't know if we're going to be able to capture anything like that in the near future.
Yeah. I'm surprised they didn't do like him on a cereal box, like something in the background, like a Wheaties.
Right. Wheaties would have been
Eat your
perfect.
Wheaties. That would have been awesome. That would have been so good. But yeah, the Scar reference, it was so in your face, but like they didn't bring it up at all.
Yep.
It was great.
Phil literally used his pelt to wash off the makeup.
Yeah.
It's so good.
It was great. But yeah, Disney does that all the time with their movies.
It's such a nice homage to what's come before. And I mean, this era, the Disney Renaissance, I still don't know if many of the modern movies beat it. It has such a I don't know, a powerful energy to it. All of these movies from Little Mermaid onward, they're so good. They're so
There's
good.
only like 3 for me that I would put amongst the ones that I love from the 90s. Like you got Moana and Tangled.
Yep.
And then like in terms of if I could pick Disney flat out, like Big Hero 6 we just spoke about a couple weeks ago. Like those are the only 3 that really jump out at me. Like people are going to put Frozen in there.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah.
But there's a feeling that these movies in the 90s, the hand-drawn stuff, I don't think will ever be beat.
I don't think so.
It's such a superior way to have an animated film. I don't care about 3D can look gorgeous, but there's something so amazing about the technicality of people putting a pencil to paper and making it look like this.
Yeah. Well, even the other day we had talked about you picked up an old Xbox 360 game and you're like, I don't care about the graphics. I want to experience the quality of the gameplay. And I think that goes the same for movies, especially I think for the both of us. We want to see that quality. And that's not to say that the quality of, the animators in Frozen is anything less than the hand-drawn animators back in the 90s and early 2000s. But there's a feeling that it gives you that is different. There's a different feeling to it. And that
like
might just
X-Men
be
97.
Well, exactly. That's like
it's light years ahead of all the Marvel 3D stuff they're putting out because the 3D stuff looks so bland.
Yeah.
And there's a lack of oomph to it. There's a lack of visually interesting.
Exactly.
points, and it seems like there's a lack of care because it seems like they're just rolling it out.
Right.
Where this feels something special.
Hmm. It's almost as if some of those things they have always hopefully good intentions when they're made, but maybe the skill of the people directing or writing it might not be to the caliber that we would hope to come out of Marvel and Disney. And
Right.
that's why we're so, I think, pleasantly surprised with this show.
Yeah,
Right?
that's true.
Because, like, I mean, they gotta be good. They gotta be good at what they do to work in those
Mhm.
houses, those animation houses. So, but yeah, the hand drawn, the line weights in, like, even Hercules. I love even the detail that they had with the gods. Their outlines were not black; they were the color. They were
A
complements
darker
to.
shade of their skin. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it just, those little details make all the difference, and obviously composing the shot makes a huge difference too. When I haven't seen those what if shows, but I saw the trailers,
I couldn't
and
get through season 2. It was so boring.
the stiffness of the shots was really what got me. And I thought, like, I'm not gonna get into this. If you're gonna show me something animated, it's gotta feel over the top. It's gotta feel out of this world. Because
Mhm.
we can, I mean, even action movies nowadays with like Bullet Train, and with even the first Witcher season, like the action in those shots is so heavy, it's so weighted. You feel the motion, the kinetic energy of it. There's no real excuse that an action TV show that's animated or movie shouldn't feel even more dramatic, right?
Budget and time.
Budget and
They
time.
just don't give it to them.
Exactly. And it's sad. It's sad because I think cartoons are not, cartoons have never just been for kids, but I think now is especially the time where adults like us can actually enjoy a quality cartoon. And
Mhm.
kids can too.
Speaking of a cartoon, I don't know if you've been hearing the rumblings around
Mhm.
about Bluey's final episode. Do you know the show
No,
Bluey?
I know the show. Yeah.
So that's a show specifically directed at kids,
Yeah.
but parents are so invested in this character Bluey and this whole family. They're only 8-minute episodes,
Oh, wow.
right?
Okay.
But the finale of this season was 32 minutes. And everybody online was posting about how invested they were, and they were bawling.
Really?
And then, like, Adria's watched a couple, like, mostly all the couple seasons of Bluey because she babysat our niece and nephew.
Yeah.
But we watched it the other night. She's like, "Do you mind if I just watch the finale of Bluey?" Because her brother texted her and said they were a wreck. The whole family was crying.
Really?
And I'm like, "Okay, we'll watch it." And I understand, like, she started crying at the end.
Yeah.
And I understand why people feel that way, but it's like what you said. Cartoons are for everybody,
Yeah.
no matter who they're directed at, because even if it's directed as kids, like we talk about cartoons specifically aimed at kids, but it's adults, like Magic School Bus.
Yes.
Bluey is written in an intelligent way.
Right.
It's not written for kids. It's a learning show,
Yes.
right? It's written to make you digest and learn something.
That's the thing. Kids aren't dumb. Kids are not dumb.
The
They
writers
can.
think they are.
Right. And that is really frustrating. It's frustrating when writers think kids and adults are dumb. So when you see a cartoon or a show that's directed at kids, but everybody can watch it, that's just a sign that the show was, the writers knew that they were not writing for a dumb audience.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we can appreciate that. And honestly, I've never seen a single episode of Bluey. I know the dog; it's really cute. But down the road, if we pop that show on, I'll probably notice right away.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll probably be a show that people will go back to for their kids and their grandkids and whatever.
It's
Just
like we spoke about with Winnie the Pooh and Franklin and all those
Exactly.
shows. And not a cartoon, but a live action, Bear in the Big Blue House.
Yes, yeah.
That's another all-time classic
Yes.
that I think we spoke about it. Like the shows are calm.
Yes.
They're not all in your face. They're
Hmm.
not high paced. They're not everything's flashing at your kids, so they're like all wired for the rest of the day. It's a
Yep.
calming show where they just sit and pay attention.
Exactly. Bear in the Big Blue House was a Disney treehouse, right?
Yep.
Yeah. That was a cool show. I
Hmm.
remember that one. And
For
like
sure.
the puppet work.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right.
like I miss the Muppets. I think I'm gonna watch the Muppets today.
Yeah. Adria loves the movie, the
The
Muppet
Muppet Show,
movies.
the Muppet movie. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna watch the Muppet Treasure Island today.
Hmm.
I'm
Nice.
really craving that.
But back to
Yeah.
our off tangent. The characters, I feel. Let's dive into the characters because we talked about Hades a little bit.
Yep.
Zeus is the proud dad of
Yeah.
the movie, and he's very energetic. He wants you to know he's around,
Yes.
you know. But I think I want to talk about Meg
Yes. Megara.
because if I'm not mistaken, I spoke to Adria about this yesterday. She is the only Disney princess who was portrayed, who played both sides.
Hmm.
Like she started off as a villain, but she
Yeah.
wasn't really a villain,
Yep.
right? She was used for the purpose of hurting the hero.
Right.
Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but I feel like she's the only one who started off with a motive to go behind his back.
Right. Well, yeah, because she wanted to get out of Hades' debt
Hmm.
of him owning her soul.
Right.
Yeah, I honestly don't think
Because
there's
Aladdin is
another one
like Meg, where he was lying a lot to get to
where he
Jasmine.
wanted. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. But yeah, first, I think to my recollection, only Disney princess that has had that sort of dynamic. Yeah.
And it's
Which
a great dynamic.
great mix up. I love it.
Great dynamic.
Yeah.
She's such a great character.
Yes. Yep.
She's quirky. She's fun.
Yep.
She has an edge to her. She doesn't take any shit.
Yes. Yes.
You know,
Very,
she has a
very-
lot of beliefs. She feels strong about the people that she's around.
Yeah, and it's really cool. Like coming up from that, she's very strong about her beliefs, but she still can learn to look
Right.
at it differently. Because initially she was very much like, don't let anybody in, because look what it got you before. Then she realized people can be good. She did learn. She learned
Yeah.
from that. She learned to open up and trust people and not be concerned about what she is owing to other people, especially like, evil people like
Mhm.
Hades. So
Yeah.
great
Her
great
flaws
character.
are like makes you
Oh,
appreciate her character more.
absolutely.
Yeah, I love when she calls him Wonder Boy.
Wonder Boy. So
Yeah.
good. That's like
It's like when Mary Jane calls Peter Tiger.
exactly. So glad we're on the same page with that.
Yeah. I saw it in your eyes. I was like, he's gonna
Yep.
say that. I'm like, we're feeling the same thing. But yeah, she gives him a run for his money.
Absolutely. Like right from the start.
And they play the sexy card.
Oh, for sure.
They play the mystique.
Yep.
The whole time she feels guilty every time she does something, and there was a point that breaks her that says, you know what, this isn't for me.
Yep.
I'm starting to actually care about this person.
Yep.
And Hades, I know you're only in it to destroy everyone, like the world.
Exactly. And it takes a lot of courage, I think, to stand up to something like that, something that big and powerful,
Mhm.
and do what you think is right. So again,
Yeah.
that's another lesson for everybody to take away from this movie. Lots of lessons.
Mhm. Her song is really the only one when any Disney princess or movie that has a song about someone getting over something, or like the sad song of the movie.
Mhm.
Hers is like the only one I really enjoy.
Oh, it's
Because it's still
amazing.
it's in the middle of being upbeat and sad.
Exactly.
Because it's fun and playful because you have the muses in the background.
Hmm.
But yeah.
I don't know what Alan Menken was on at that time in '97, but man,
He was
just-
drinking gold.
yeah, he knocked it out of the park.
He was taking that Rocky training camp with the eggs, but it was all gold.
Oh, now we did briefly mention Phil at the beginning.
Hmm.
I want to talk more about him because I think he's my favorite character in the movie just because of the weight that he has put on himself based on the views of others. He thinks I'm a failure because I let all of these heroes or would be heroes die, or I let them down and I let the people that they were trying to protect down. And that to me is, I think, the probably the lowest it goes in this movie. When you really kind of think about it, it's like, yeah, Hercules almost dies and he's immortal and whatever. But no. Like, Phil is at rock bottom. He's trained. He's trained with the biggest and best heroes of the ages, but they've all had weaknesses and they've all failed, and it's all because of him. To me,
I don't think it's all because of him.
It's not.
But he
but he
thinks it's all because of him.
Exactly.
Because each of the heroes has a flaw.
Yeah, it's like Achilles
that he can't control.
Yeah,
but people blame him.
Yeah, it's like you can't control the weakness in the heel.
Yeah,
he didn't know about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And his belief and faith in Hercules was really cool. It was, you'd think, oh, like he's not gonna go for it, right? He's so done with a new plucky up and coming hero that's just gonna fail in a couple weeks. Like, he's so done with that. But he gives it one last shot and it pays off.
And he does sort of become the father figure for Hercules.
Yes.
Or he believes he's the father. Like, he's wants Hercules to achieve and be good.
Yeah.
Like, he's always looking out for him.
And it's cool because Hercules came from a family who cared about him.
Right.
His human dad was understanding of him. He didn't isolate him. He didn't keep him away from the other kids. He tried to have him go out and play and brought him out into the whatever that courtyard thing is to do the errands. So he wasn't hiding him away. He wasn't giving him those experiences. But when things went wrong, he tried to defend him. He said, he doesn't know his own strength. He's still learning. He's just a kid. And then eventually him and his wife telling Hercules, like, the reason you don't feel like you fit in is because you probably don't.
Right.
Like, you were sent to us. You were like a blessing to us, but this is, I think, as far as we can take it. And
it's almost like Superman.
Yes.
In the way that Superman has Jonathan and Martha Kent as his parents who find him. It's like the same kind of thing. They find the child and raise him to be good.
Yes. And he has that foundation to be a good person, but sometimes that just isn't what it takes. It actually takes, because he after that, he had that idea of, I need to find where I belong.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll do anything to get there. But then he realizes over time that once Zeus tells him, he's like, you actually have to mean it. You can't just do it for the sake of doing it. And Phil was there to kind of help him get there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he had a lot of really good parental figures throughout his life. It took him realizing that selflessness is what was actually the thing that was needed, rather than intentionally getting to that point. That's what made him succeed, which I thought was nice.
And when he says that's Phil's boy at the end, it hits me every time.
It's so good.
And then you cut to Phil and he's just so full of joy.
Yep.
Because before that, one of the most pivotal parts is when Phil is trying to tell Hercules that Meg is betraying. Like, Meg is on Hades' side and he just doesn't believe it. And the amount of disappointment, because Hercules hits him.
Oh, he hits him good.
He hits him.
Yeah.
And he's like, I can't do this anymore. Mm-hmm. I've looked out for you. I want you to be a hero. I want you to be good.
Yep.
But if you can't see past your own feelings, then I can't be here anymore.
Exactly. It's just sheer disappointment, and you're like, oh, it's so like, it's so heart wrenching.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, could they could they just like talk it out here? But really, no.
Hercules wouldn't have hurt him. He tried.
Exactly.
He's like, listen,
Exactly.
I'm trying to talk to you. He's like swinging around on his little workout area, just all
Yeah.
happy and go lucky because Meg, he found someone that he loves and that he
Yeah.
thinks loves him back, and he's
Yep.
found somewhere he belongs,
Yep.
and he just doesn't. He can't see the writing on the wall.
Yep.
It's too good to
Exactly.
be true.
Right. Right. And yeah, and Herc's not going to believe that because he's so high right now.
Yeah,
Oh,
because what's even crazier is they do that in the animation when he jumps off the
the
gymnastics pole. He
yeah,
shoots like all the way to the moon.
yep,
Like that's how high he is.
exactly, and it's like Phil talking him down is not going to do it.
No.
He's like that is not going to happen. I think it was a very realistic approach to that sort of disagreement, that argument.
And the genius of Meg to know that Phil is the one who can reach him,
Yeah,
to say I need to go find Phil. Like she pulls Pegasus in and says, "Listen, I know you don't like me, but we need to go get Phil because Hercules is in trouble."
Yep. Yeah, and she didn't even go to Hercules. She knows that he's kind of gone from that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, oh, so good.
It's
It's
the
characters
heroes of the characters.
understanding.
Yeah,
Characters understanding each other. They're not fumbling around. They're not like, "Whoa, what do we do?"
yeah, just for the jokes.
Right.
No,
Exactly.
they're smart, intellectual characters.
Yep.
They know what they have to do. The moment Hercules walks up to the Titan, he knows he can't do nothing. But it's like the Captain America moment in
Yeah.
Endgame where everybody's down and he's the only one left standing.
Yep.
He can't do anything about it, but he's going to be the hero or
Yep.
try to be the hero that Phil and his parents raised him to be.
Exactly. And he succeeds once
Yeah.
he knows that he has some fight left in him.
Yeah.
And he ropes him up, ties him, and kicks him off the ledge. So
Yeah.
good. It's so
Yeah.
good.
The Titans are awesome. I love the Titans.
We got to talk
It's
about
one of my
those.
favorite sections of any Disney movie
Yep.
is when Hades releases the Titans. The overall design, the massive scale,
Yep.
the saturation and the movement, like the
Yes.
lava, it's so like
So good.
goopy, and I love the Ice Titan so
He-
much.
I knew that
It's
one.
my favorite one.
Yep. Yep. that one and the rock one to me are the scariest.
Yeah.
And I remember actually kind of feeling something scared
Mhm.
when I watched that movie as a kid.
You fought the Rock Titan in Kingdom Hearts 3.
Seriously?
It was crazy. Yeah,
That's so
it was
cool.
It was cool.
Oh,
But I love when Hercules uses the Titans against each other. When he harnesses the tornado,
yes, and sucks them up.
sucks them all up.
Oh.
Oh, it's so good. When the moment when when Meg gets hit
Yes.
by the pillar and he gets all his strength back.
Yeah.
Oh, it's such a good moment
Yep, it is.
because you knew he gave up his powers for her, but it's a moment of he's finally understanding what a hero is.
Right.
And him breaking, well, it's also because Meg got hurt. That was the circumstance. But I think it's a double edge where he was becoming a hero. Like he finally let the hero not be like a pedestal. It was like him just being a hero. You know what I'm trying to say?
Doing what he was meant
Yeah.
to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hadn't watched the movie in a long time, and I forgot that was the reason he got his powers back. Because I thought, how the heck does that happen again? But then they explain it, I think, really well. It was very quick. It says, I'm not supposed to get hurt. You got your powers back. Okay, cool. I got it.
But it also tied into him being like, you know what we're trying to say, him being a hero unintentionally.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. I think it would have probably happened either way, right? Because that's just how God stuff works. You're like, oh, wait, this is going to override everything that Hades' deal had in store.
Yeah. Did you spot the animation error in this movie? I don't think it's an animation error as well as a story error.
Tell me.
It happens after Meg passes away.
Okay.
And he goes to see Hades.
Yeah.
And he sees Meg floating in the sea of death.
Mm-hmm.
And he puts his hand in there and he gets all old.
Yeah.
And then Hades says, I wouldn't do that if I were you. And then he says, here, how about this? I can rescue Meg and you can take me instead. And he says, fine. The next scene after that, he jumps off a 40-foot cliff to dive into this lake. But he
Yeah.
just touched it from 2 inches ago, the scene prior.
Right. Yeah.
Like he just they were on the same cliff.
Yeah, and he put
They
his
hadn't
hand
moved.
out.
He put his hand
Yeah.
in to touch Meg. And then the next scene, he jumps for dramatic effect into this. I don't think, like, I only noticed that because it's just something simple.
Yeah.
Like, kids aren't going to notice that, but it's such a
No.
simple story detail that
Heck, I didn't
they
even
took
notice
liberties
that.
and, like, okay, let's just make this epic. Because him just
Exactly.
jumping
Walking
into
in,
a lake
yeah.
isn't as, like, the
Cool
stakes
as-
aren't as high if you're not jumping from a high place.
Exactly.
Right?
They're like, we have a diving shot opportunity. Let's do it.
Yeah, because then even when he comes out with Meg, how did he get up there?
Yeah, it looked like he was kind of like floating and walking.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just like, whatever.
Whatever.
That's so funny. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like, there have to be some creative liberties to make a good shot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, whatever. But
it's like breaking the rig in 3D.
Yeah.
People break the animation rig all the time for the character to get a certain pose,
Yeah.
like a reach out or like how the character, as long as you don't see it in camera,
Yep.
they do whatever they want.
Yeah. And I think it served both of those shots well, the diving shot, but also the sample of the risk, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It kind of needed that.
And to go with other characters, there's so many characters in this movie that are great.
Yeah.
But just to touch on when he's in the Lake of Souls, would you call it?
Yep.
And I don't know what they're called. The 3 witches.
Well, those are the fates.
The fates. Okay, the 3 fates. I love those characters.
They're the best. They're so fun.
And the scissors, and then when they go to cut it, what is wrong with these scissors? What's wrong with this rope? Like the beginning when they're passing the eyeball around, and Hades is flirting with them so he can get his way,
Yep. Pulls out the one's like hair.
Yeah.
And it's a worm.
He's like, you can stick it back in. They're a great addition to the fantastical nature of the dead,
mm-hmm.
but not making it too scary.
Right.
But the scissors and the rope is such a genius way of portraying how easy it is for someone's life to go.
Yep. Well, and that's in the stories. Everybody's life is tied to like a thread, right? I think that's why one of the term the phrases is hanging on by a thread,
right?
From that story, like the Greek story, not Hercules,
right, yeah.
But yeah, it's such a powerful representation. It's like, it's such a small thing. It's so delicate that can be taken away very quickly. And I think as kids, right away from their introduction, when they snip the one random person's thread and then you hear the scream and then the soul comes down, you're like, oh yeah, this is these people, these fates are fate. They determine what happens to a person.
And the tension of Hercules swimming, getting closer. They keep cutting back and forth between the scissors, getting closer to the wire.
And closer.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
so
she snips it, and then she's like, snips it a couple more times, and she's looking at the scissors.
Yeah.
What is wrong with these scissors? And then he comes up glowing like a god.
It's so fun. It's so good. Oh, and I love that his glow it's very bright and contrasting to the rest of Thieves right now, because it's so dark and gloomy because the Titans are destroying everything. Visually, everything just pops really, really well. And then when you get to Olympus and you're on top of the clouds and all the gods are there, it's very bright, but I don't think it's too overwhelming. It actually kind of almost mellows out a little bit.
Yeah.
So I don't know how they did that. I don't know if they actually changed the colors or if they're just really smart and they just know how to use colors. But everything looks beautiful in this movie. Oh, I wanted to bring up the use of 3D in this movie.
Yes.
Because we recently
just talked about it.
Yeah, we talked about 3D in Disney movies or 3D animation in a 2D film with Atlantis. Check that one out if you want to listen to us talk about Atlantis, The Lost Empire. But for this movie, the Hydra is a full 3D rendered character. How do you feel about it?
I thought it was fine. It doesn't
Yeah,
take they did it in a way where it wasn't overwhelming
yeah,
because when it's one or three heads, it looks totally normal,
yeah,
right? The way they shoot the angles and the way because Hercules is still 2D, but the area is 3D.
yeah,
And they said it's impossible to have as many heads as it did by the end and hand draw that.
yeah,
So they had to take the liberty into where they copied and pasted certain heads,
yep,
but they didn't. They probably offset them a little bit so it didn't look like the same motion.
yep,
But it would have been impossible
yeah.
to do that by hand,
I
and
think
it wasn't that out of place.
no.
Maybe in like because I watched the Blu-ray like re-res, they like
Oh
obviously
yeah,
touched it up because when you go to the bonus features, you can see what the movie looked like
right.
before, and maybe you might have spotted it back in the day, but I think it blends in totally fine.
It's I think it's just enough 3D. It is definitely something, especially nowadays. Like we can look at it and be like, oh, that's an interesting design choice. But I think
Hmm.
back then, you're absolutely right. They probably were like, okay, we got this scene, and the Hydra's going to have 70 heads,
Yeah,
and the animators are like, no.
yeah,
Then they were probably like, okay, how about we model it? And they
hmm
thought, oh, okay, there we go. And instead of doing just that scene, which is a beautiful scene with all of them kind of looking up at Hercules and it's all red and purples, that scene
hmm
is so awesome. It's just straight 3D Hydra heads. So
yeah,
good. But yeah,
hmm
like they couldn't do that hand
no.
drawn. That would have been crazy.
The pillars in Olympus are also 3D.
That's right.
All the
That's
clouds,
right.
and they
Yes.
showed the you know the scene where he makes a crib for baby Hercules.
Yeah.
So they had one drawing, and they had the final drawing, and they put it in a computer and used the mesh, the warp to like
Yeah.
blend to make it happen. So they didn't even animate it. They let the computer put the
Oh.
frames in the middle of the two drawings for the
Ooh.
3D,
It's
and then all the
it's
clouds blowing apart and putting back together.
it's that it was such a good animation. It looked
Hmm.
so good. I thought, oh, that's just like a maybe they painted that and they did like a cells with
Yeah,
paint, but no, that's all 3D. That's super
yeah.
cool. I love that.
The cell shading on the textures on the 3D to make it look like the cartoon. I just love
It's
whenever
so good.
companies do that.
Yep. Yeah, because it's not it's not flat, right? There's
Right.
way more visual interest in there.
Hmm.
And I think like they could have messed up those like cloud shots for sure.
Yeah.
Like they could have misstepped, but when I see a cloud that has like a little swirl in it like that at the bottom, I'm like, that's a
Hmm.
Hercules cloud.
Yep. Because there's also the shots of you panning into Olympus and coming away. There's a
Hmm.
lot of 3D elements in the movie you just don't notice.
Yes. Oh.
The it's not 3D, but something I want to touch on during I Can Go the Distance
Hmm.
when he finally makes it to the Temple of Zeus.
Yes.
How amazing Zeus looks as a
So
stone figure
absolutely.
in the chair, and how beautiful the paintings are, like the background paintings.
Yep.
And let's give a shout out to whoever had to paint the pebble floor.
The floor, all
Yeah,
the little tiles.
yeah.
Oh,
Whoever had to do that circle
yep.
in the middle of the thing that Hercules was standing on.
Yep.
Round of applause
I
because
know. Like and it looks like real tile art.
yeah,
So good for you. Good
good for you.
claps all around. And in perspective too, right? It's
Yeah,
not just here.
Adria made this point that Stone Zeus is her favorite Zeus, and I would have to agree. Like his
Yeah.
interaction with Zeus in the temple,
Yes.
he's still the same Zeus, but there's something about the stone, the gray look to him,
Yeah. That's
being
what I
like
think
this
about
not
when I
real
think of
figure,
Zeus.
but
Yeah.
like coming alive and like almost like a genie. Like
Yes.
seeing how big he is compared to Hercules and
Yep.
the jolliness that he's trying to instill in his son, like it's my boy, you know?
Yes. Yeah. He's proud to see all of the accomplishments that he's had so far. When I think of Zeus, I think of him in the temple, not
Yeah,
big and glowy
yeah.
for
Or
sure.
or regular size, you know what I mean? Like
Exactly.
Zeus to me is a being of giant magnitude.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's how you see him from a human perspective. Like that's Zeus, how big he is.
Yep. quick tangent. It would have been sick if Stone Zeus got to fight the Titans.
Ah, that'd have been cool.
That's like 12-year-old brain working on overdrive right now.
Yeah, that'd have been pretty cool. But like then there's too much magic going
I
into that.
know.
I wouldn't want
Yeah.
to dive into it. On the opposite end of Giant, we got to talk about Pain and Panic.
Oh, our two little freaky...
Two of the best sidekick characters they've ever made.
Yes.
And I
Yep.
just want to touch on their whole storyline of going down, stealing baby Hercules, and giving him this potion.
Yep.
Adria pointed out that anytime she sees this pink potion, she just wants to drink it because it just looks like pink Kool-Aid.
So appetizing.
And it's so clear.
Yes.
But their whole thing is they need to give this potion to Hercules to remove his god powers.
Yes.
So he's not invincible. But he has to drink every last drop.
Yep.
And so they're feeding him this bottle of juice. And Hercules' human parents show up on this
On a
pathway.
robe. Yeah.
And they end up getting scared and the bottle breaks, but there's one drop left. That's why Hercules is as strong as he is in his human form.
Yep.
And they have a joke in this movie that started perfect and ended perfect.
You bet.
Because they talk about if Hades were to find out Hercules is still alive.
Yep.
And then they say, well, if he finds out.
Yeah.
And then Panic, he goes, if is good.
Yeah.
And they pay it off at the end.
They do.
When Hercules knocks Hades into the lake of souls.
Panic says
goes,
when he gets out of there, he's going to kill us.
Yeah.
And then Pain says, if he gets out of there.
Yeah. If is good.
If
is good.
Oh,
it's great.
When they bookend, when jokes get bookended, it like ties everything together.
Mm-hmm.
It's so good. It's so good.
And then the scene of them appreciating Hercules' merchandise before the Hydra fight. And they're just squeaking around in the shoes. And he's sipping on the drink. Oh, it's so good.
I love it.
I love the one shot when they're disguised as the two kids.
Gee, mister.
Gee, mister, thanks. And Hercules lifts the boulder off.
Yep.
And he's like, you kids okay? But the way they did the shot from below, like their angle, to show the audience how big and out of this world Hercules is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like to look up at him and say, wow, this is what a hero is. Like that. I love that shot of him holding the rock underneath. Yeah, it's great.
Because we as the audience, we want him to get to that, God status again. We're like, oh, maybe this is it, right? Mm-hmm. So they're teasing us with that idea. Like, look at this big God here saving the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so good.
Now I have a question for you.
Yeah.
It's something I noticed, but I don't know if it's true or not, but I just want to get your opinion on what you think.
Yeah.
When Hercules goes off to the mountain, to the temple of Zeus.
Yep.
His parents give him a blanket.
Yeah.
A blue blanket. Do you think he used that blanket to make his cape?
Oh, I never thought of that.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
So here's the thing, because when he takes Pegasus after he gets him from Zeus, he flies over to Phil's place and he doesn't have the blanket on him.
Mm-hmm.
But when he gets his outfit, he has a cape. Now, I don't know if it's like something in my mind where that'd be cool if he took what his parents gave him and like turned it into part of his uniform.
Oh, I would love that.
Yeah, because they're the same color.
Yeah. That's so
just
cool.
something that was just something I said that would be cool little detail if that was like if they would have had Hercules have the blanket when he arrived on Phil's, maybe that would have been a better connection.
Yes. Yeah.
Than just his parents, but it's like his parents giving him something to protect him.
Right. Yeah.
I just think it'd be a cool little twist if that was part of his outfit.
I love that so much. That would be, because we don't really get, there's no indication that Hercules ever forgot about his parents.
They show up at the end.
Exactly. They see him at the end. He definitely acknowledges all of their contributions. And it's like, that would be just a sweet acknowledgement of the work that they've put in. And it's like, they're still here. They've got my back, even though I'm, almost, I was a god for a second and then I gave it up. Yeah. So that's really cool.
If I was doing a live action Hercules remake for Disney, I would put that in there.
Oh,
That would be a
100%.
little detail because honestly, I think they might have done that if they had a little bit more runtime. But every
For
Disney
sure.
movie was like 90 minutes.
Yep.
But
Just cruising
did you
through.
hear they're actually trying to make a live action Hercules and the Russos are like behind producing it?
Really?
But it's not going to be like it's not going to be the Disney movie.
Oh,
So I'm
okay.
just like, I don't want to see it.
Yeah.
I just, if you're going to do it, I think the Disney Hercules is the only live action Disney movie that would make perfect sense to do in live action.
I agree.
And
Yeah.
people wouldn't complain about the translation like Lion King,
Yes. Yep. Lion King,
you know?
Snow White, Cinderella.
Yeah.
Like there's like Brie and I have watched all of them. I don't actually, I've not seen The Lion King, the the live action one.
It's okay. It's just hard to watch because like they went so real with it.
You're right. And
There's no emotion in the face. They're like, well, lions don't have emotion. Yeah, but you're not
no kidding,
making a real documentary about a lion.
right,
You're remaking one of your best movies you've ever made.
right,
And
exactly.
you could have taken some liberties like The Jungle Book.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
that was a perfect blend where you could tell the emotion in the face. These
Right.
lions had nothing. And the voices, some of the songs were okay. And then you had Mufasa.
Yeah,
Sorry, but James Earl Jones is getting so old. He still delivers, but some of the lines I'm like, you could tell he's aged like 40 years.
right.
It's like it's hard, but Hercules is the one where I think they can nail if they were to do it.
I think if they put the time and the budget into it,
Yeah.
it would be a really good movie.
Who would you cast as the muse?
Oh, geez. That would take some
I
time.
got 3 off the top.
Who?
You got Queen Latifah, you got
Okay.
Jennifer Hudson, and you got Beyonce.
Oh, dang. Yeah.
The other
think-
two I can't think of at the top right now, but you could definitely fill in some classical roles,
Right.
maybe some Broadway roles,
Yep.
or you could just totally ignore famous people and go straight for just Broadway singers. But then there's so much personality in the muses. I think you need a little bit of both. Like Queen Latifah would be perfect
Right.
for one
I
of the
think
roles.
it would be cool to see some new faces or to
Yeah.
get like the Broadway people on the screen because they're probably wanting that, right? And they could probably nail it. Like
Yeah.
they could absolutely destroy that role.
Mhm.
Who would be Hercules?
I don't know. It'd be tough. There was
Yeah.
rumors going around that Chris Hemsworth was going to be Hercules,
Okay.
and like whatever.
Yeah.
Like
He's
I
so
think you need like a
sweet.
no name.
Yeah. Because he has to be like, as much as he has to be like big and powerful, he has to still have that sort of like kid happiness, right?
Yeah.
So, and I was even thinking like, well, like first person that came to mind is like Alan Ritchson.
Yes.
But I've not seen him in Reacher. I haven't seen
He's
him in
great.
anything else. I don't know if he can do like the fun.
That's his
Like-
actual personality.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's hilarious.
Oh, that's sick. Okay, then maybe him.
He's jolly. He's like upbeat. He's happy all the time. I mean, whenever he's talking to the fans, like he's
Yeah.
always like ready to have a chat. He loves music. He's a singer.
Yeah,
So like you can definitely pull that off.
that would be cool.
Yeah.
Because he definitely has the build for it.
hmm And then whatever Ministry of Ungentle Warfare comes out this week,
Yeah.
what a name.
It's a great name. Yeah.
He's because Reacher, he's all serious, right? He has to
Yeah.
be serious, but I think he's given a little bit more liberty to be the quirky,
Yeah.
But yeah, that'd be a great cast,
Yeah.
great casting.
Who would be Hades?
Can we get him back, James Woods?
We could. Yeah, he's still
He's still alive.
around.
But here, would you want them to be exactly like they are in the cartoon?
I'd want him to be
I feel like you'd have to be almost close
very close
with a
yeah.
spin on it.
Yeah. Okay, so question for you. Would you want Hades to be practical or would you want him to be more mocapped?
Well, you'd have to do the mocap for the fire.
Sure.
Like you would do the whole get up and then you would just add
Mm-hmm.
the mocap dots on
Yeah.
the uniform.
Yeah. So like all prosthetic and like paint and then the CG hair.
It's just the chin, you got a nose and then the bald head.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think you'd look cool.
I think so too.
And you can even do it in that old Roman and Greek style, very angular features of like the gods in Hades. Like you can make them very exaggerated, have like
Hmm.
the really pointy cheekbones, the big chins, all of that stuff.
I'd have to do like a whole month of research for actors that
Yeah,
have that voice, but also you go with the look. You have to go with the look.
yeah,
The look has to be there. And you can't do it like the movies, the cartoons where you have the voice actor, but then someone
right,
else is singing, like who has the same kind of pitch.
yeah,
Because the young Hercules, for those of you who don't know, is voiced by an actor named Josh Keaton,
right,
who is Spectacular Spider-Man, but he does not do the singing voice. So like, but they have the same pitch. So
yeah.
they always do that in Disney movies where you
If the
have an
voice
actor.
actor isn't
Yeah.
singing, it's somebody sounds relatively close.
Yes.
And the guy who sang those songs, he's a Broadway guy.
Yeah.
So
That's usually how they
yeah,
go.
and you feel it like that's a Broadway song through and through.
Yeah.
I would be very excited to see a live action remake of Hercules. I'm hesitant though.
They've done a lot of different versions of Hercules over the years, and like none of them
Yeah.
have been good.
Well, they did like Dwayne Johnson did one, right?
Yeah, that wasn't good.
Yeah, I didn't even see it.
It was he did a different take on it. Like he
It
did
was that gritty, like
yeah.
gruesome.
It was okay, but it wasn't like anything special.
Yeah, yeah.
But you would have to do like Tarzan. I don't want them to ever touch
Nope. Keep it where it
the
is.
live action Tarzan with the Skarsgård.
yeah,
I
yeah.
actually really like that movie,
Oh, nice. Okay.
but to touch my favorite movie of all, like Disney, to do it,
Yeah,
no,
no,
Get
we
out
don't
of
need that. No,
Nope.
keep.
Not a chance.
If you like that one, I could probably watch that. But
yeah. It's
it's
cool
a
because it takes
different-
place like years later.
Okay.
Like he's living in England with Jane,
oh, okay.
and he has to come back to the jungle.
Gotcha.
Yeah, there's points of it in the story where he does all these animal noises,
Yeah.
and I just think it's so cool because we don't get to hear that in the animated version, right? We don't.
Right.
Tarzan talks to the apes,
Yeah.
but he knows how to do the animal sounds in the live action, and Margot Robbie is Jane.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, and
know
Christopher Waltz.
Christoph Waltz. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the villain.
Oh, cool.
And they have to go back, and Tarzan he doesn't want to go back to the jungle,
Mhm.
but he ends up going with Jane because they're trying to, I can't remember what the deal is, but he has to go back to protect his homeland, and
Right.
it's so cool. It's not like an amazing movie, but I like it because it puts a spin on my favorite animated movie.
Right.
And like, what if in the future, like he didn't live in the jungle with Jane, like they did the other way where he does go live with her
Yes.
and comes
Yeah.
back. I just think it's so cool having the hero return home.
Absolutely.
And like the aspects of Tarzan, they did really well.
Very cool.
I think it's just called The Legend of Tarzan, if I'm not mistaken.
The Legend of Tarzan. Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, The Legend of Tarzan.
The Legend of Tarzan. Oh, it doesn't have a slipcover Brian.
Listen, not every movie comes out as a slip. It's irritating.
Gotta make one.
I gotta make one.
But overall, I think Hercules is a classic, enduring, and endearing movie that I could easily throw on at any time. I'm sure you can. And for many different reasons. For each of the characters having their redemption, for the amazing music, for a dive back into classic Disney animation. It's got it all. And it is definitely for me up there in like the top classic action Disney movies.
It's probably in my top 10
For sure. For
all
sure.
time for Disney.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that, thank you everybody for tuning in. This has been our chat about Hercules. Let us know, is Hercules one of your favorite Disney movies? Who's your favorite character? What's your favorite song in the movie? And I hope you enjoyed. This has been 2 hours on a Sunday. I'm Nick.
And I'm Brian, and we'll catch you guys later.